in. We also get another.
And we are live. Welcome to Square Work Media's world. I'm your host, Square, and I just got back from therapy. I have another appointment in about an hour, so this will be a real short stream. My subconscious, I didn't remember the things that I did a special questionnaire and I answered some questions, and I'm just going to come out and say it, that I was not like molested or anything, but I was abused as a child. Not, I'm not going into any details or anything. It was a singular incident, but it brought me back into tears, and I had completely forgot about it. But this question that my therapist asked me, the way it was worded, and it just snapped my recall back, and I started to cry because of what it was and who it was and everything. And I really didn't realize till today that I felt violated even then, but didn't know how to articulate it. So yeah, for those, I just wanted to share that because it's not something easy to share as a guy. Like I said, it wasn't, it, it was more like kind of overtly covert, if that makes sense. It was, you know, violating and just touching once, but even though it maybe wasn't as severe or whatever, it's still like, I remember from then on, I used to always lock the door when I'd take a shower and everything. Okay, I went way too much that I wanted to, but just, I wanted to share that, so maybe hopefully, because my therapist told me it was just the first time, you know, had I had ever shared it with anybody, and I said no, and she said I might feel better by sharing it. So I want to share it. We're going to be working through it, and this other stuff as well. But I've been reassured from all the gaslighting and stuff I've done, because just like I told her, they got me almost believing sometimes myself that I am crazy and I'm causing all this, and justified it, and I don't. And I don't give a fuck what Scooter Beggins or Weakest Link or Fusion or Filthy Animal or fucking any of them say. I don't care. They need to say it and express it as an opinion. They need to stop making this humiliation content of mine, of me, and taking my content and re-uploading it and not even really transforming it or whatever, and just doing it to piss me off. Like, you need to voluntarily remove. Don't make me sit here and have to go through and report every damn thing and tweet to Team YouTube and do this shit, guys. This is my final fucking plea to the people that have fucking done me wrong. Because once I start, there is no going back. There is no, hey, peace, please, no. Once I take these addresses and these names and I take them in, I will have turned in 2 at least of you out of the group, and the police will talk to you about your other members of your group. I wasn't, well, I guess maybe some would say it's a sexual assault. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, okay? I didn't get raped. I didn't, get made to jack somebody off or nothing like that, but I was violated, put it that way. And let's just leave it at that. I was in a vulnerable state and I was violated. And I ain't even fucking remember. And for you people to have accused me like MC of being a rapist and woman abuser and everything, how fucking dare you! Fusion talking about, you better be glad I ain't have self-control, and then he threatened and said, I will drive the Haytide, beat his ass. Motherfucker, what's stopping you? Don't talk about it, be about it. You little bitch. After I sat there and fucking let you know somebody was impersonating and using your dad's picture on account, after all the shit you did, I still fucking actually do something that care about you or think about you and your fucking family. What do I get? Fuck all last night. Fuck the police. Here, let's show us that the police are corrupting with us. Because they either are, or you guys have some very big balls. Because I tell you what, all of that shit's being turned into the police. As soon as I got time to do it. Fucking bunch of bullshit. Are you back? It's already back. Here, I'll take it. Well, here in about 30-40 minutes. We'll leave in about 30 minutes or so. 2 o'clock. I'm back. I'm sorry, I'll put my microphone a little bit up, but I am eating. Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. I'm a terrorist. Wow. Oh, Andrea, so you were gonna unblock from me on this account. Oh wow, there's plenty of channels that restream his vids. No need to be on his channel anymore. Yeah, I'm talking about the people that are my supporters. Andrea knows this hurts me. And this person ain't got no way to talk. Guess what, guys? My sub count is not falling. It's stabilized. Fucking assholes. Yeah, Fusion. Here's your buddy, though. That's my mom. I swear to God, Petey, if I had you, oh my God, if I just had you in person. Well, you got an alternative?
Filmora abused the copyright system on YouTube to take down this gentleman's video. He talked about their video editing software in the past, and it seems like he was also sponsored by them in the past. This company sponsors a lot of YouTubers, I know, because even I've gotten emails in their inbox. So if they're offering to sponsor me, they've probably offered to sponsor everybody at one point in time. They have a editing piece of software, and they changed the licensing terms for this. They used to have a lifetime license, and they changed it in a way that, in my opinion, was very deceptive to their audience. It wasn't in a manner where they let people know that the terms changed, and he did a video discussing this. In the video that he did discussing this, he got a copyright strike for telling his viewers the truth about this piece of software, which is a really crappy thing to do. I'm not going to go into detail of what happened in his particular case. What I want to do is describe to you why I believe this company is a scamming, shitty, bottom-feeding company for completely unrelated reasons. This is something I wanted to talk about 3 years ago, and it was something I actually left a note in my ticketing system to talk about 3 years ago. My finger on Y until I click utilities. That's where you can see that they have mobile phone device management and data recovery software. This is the software that they've tried to have me sponsor in the past, and it is advertised in a very deceptive way. Jessa Jones is my friend and colleague in this industry, and she has a company called iPad Rehab that does data recovery it worse in exchange for money. One of the videos on my channel that I have to show you before I wanted to demonstrate what happens on camera, and I sped it up when you drop something like water or Coca-Cola. The second option to show up. Usually when an iPhone is water damaged, a Dr. Phone data problem that they are telling you you will fix with a piece of software. The second thing that's going to happen is, since you're now plugging your phone in, it's going to be made worse. So as you can see in this video, the corrosion is not really that bad in the beginning after just 1 or 2 minutes of being plugged in, but after 9 or 10 minutes of services. I do not advertise products and services that I am 100% sure are not going to work and fix a customer's problem, yet in this case, they are. There are countless phones that likely could have been recovered by myself, by Jessa Jones, by Jesse Cruz, Mark Schaefer, Tim Herman, everybody else, that are not able to be recovered as a result of the user plugging it in and continuing the corrosion. And they make no note of that on their website. When it comes to liquid damage, there's no note over here in this page that I can see where they're talking about you should bring it to a repair shop, or even if you can't bring it to a repair shop, you should take the board out. You do that, Jessa Jones or my service. I have many of them to try to do this PU or some shit that's corroded. Stuff like this is not going to be fixed by software. And they know that, but they don't care. They have cheated the system and they have cheated Google to get a search ranking for a page that gives you a solution that is not actually going to fix your problem, and they don't care. This is something that they were doing for years before they ever copyright struck Daniel Batal for telling the truth about their garbage product. They have been scammers in this regard for a very long time before they ever changed the licensing of their product. And I don't suggest any of you ever give this company money, because they falsely advertise their products and services in a manner that's going to cause people.
Well, definitely shouldn't have got it. Damn. $295.
Information regarding
Didn't mean to do that.
In this video, we're going to discuss newly obtained information regarding Bryan Kohberger's online activity, including his Facebook activity. Some of you may be familiar with Papa Roger, aka Elliot Rodger's daddy. Speaking of daddies, do you think Bryan's daddy knew anything about his activities? We'll talk about that. Bryan Kohberger allegedly called into a YouTube show. We're going to talk more about numerology. I've uncovered new numbers. Also, interestingly, we're going to have a little discussion about the Amityville Horror. Many people speculated and wondered, would the killer show up to the vigil? In my opinion, he did. We're going to talk about that. Let's jump right into this and see what I have to say for myself this time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Crime Circus. My name's Drip Drop, and I'm your host as always. There's a lot of information to digest in this, and before we get to that, I want to give a brief disclaimer. Anybody named or discussed in this video is presumed 100% innocent. None of the information I'm about to present is presented as fact. This is all speculation, opinion, and guessing. You, the viewer, may come up to your own opinion and conclusion after watching this video, but I have nothing to do with that. I've always stated in the beginning of every single one of my videos, everybody discussed is presumed innocent. I've never falsely accused a single person. I would never accuse an innocent person of murder.
Nope. And he would never accuse just anybody of being a pedo or stalker or anything like that, like the Worky vs. Scooter Beggins type people, so-called Creek Squad, have to me.
That's serious business. Jack Decor, that's an innocent man. Adam Latta, that's an innocent man. Jack Showalter, he might be in Africa, but he's an innocent man. Anyways, this episode is about Bryan Kohberger. This is my second video on Bryan. If you haven't seen my previous one,
first one was
check
great.
It out. We're gonna jump right into this and start with the boom. Papa Roger posts on December 15th, the killer has the sexual dysfunction. Thoughts? Somebody says yes. He also likes his steak meat.
I'll be redoing my reaction to the first one whenever I can.
Medium. The vegan Papa Roger says, is that your first thought? I do believe Papa Roger was spiraling out of control in this social media frenzy that he had created. He interjected himself on 4chan, Reddit, and Facebook. Does he have a sexual dysfunction? Absolutely he does. In my opinion, most killers that I've researched absolutely commit SA before they commit the killing. This case is different. Bryan has ED, and that's why he certainly could not perform. Now, let's check out this next post. A knife is a very risky weapon if you know you're going to murder 4 people. Do we think the killer also had another weapon, such as a stun gun or other knife? Or did they not know? And then the post carries on, but that's the screenshot I took. Why does he keep asking these questions with what do we think? I think he knows the answers to these questions that he's asking, and he's wondering what the general public is thinking about this horrendous, horrible crime that he created. I think he's leaving little clues here and there, and he probably did have a stun gun with him, as well as an extra knife. Also on Bryan's questionnaire 7 months prior to the murders, he asked, "How did you leave the scene? Before leaving, is there anything else you did?" On Facebook, Papa Roger says, "How did the killer leave the scene? Did he clean up at all?" To me, that looks like the exact same person typing, asking basically the exact same questions. Somebody on Facebook said, "I think we should give them the dignity they deserve and not theorize on where their bodies were." Papa Roger responds, "This is the discussion of the case. You are participating by choice." Someone responds to Papa Roger, "The 4 victims didn't participate by choice. You are one sick individual. Glad you are locked up." Most people that have come across the Papa Rogers messages on Facebook are convinced that that's Bryan Kohberger without a doubt. And this is one sick individual we're dealing with. Now let's take a step away from these Facebook posts and talk about the vigil. It was highly theorized that the killer would show up to the vigil. Kaylee's family was terrified that the killer would show up at the vigil. FBI profilers said he will probably show up at the vigil. Me personally, I had my doubts. Even when I first came across this footage, I wasn't so sure. I try not to believe every single thing I come across on the internet. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and even what you hear on this show cannot be taken as fact. I can only present you my findings, and it's up to you, the viewer, to come to your own conclusion. Let's check this out. I'll show you what I found. This is video footage from the vigil that happened in early December, and one man sticks out of the crowd here. I'm going to let the video play, and then I'm going to slow it down and play it a little slower. And we're going to do some side-by-side comparison of known video of Bryan Kohberger walking. Now I present to you footage of Bryan Kohberger walking at one of his graduation ceremonies. I'm going to play these clips side by side. I'm going to slow the footage down, and you let me know what you think. Now there's been recent video of Bryan Kohberger after his arrest, walking with shackles on. I'm going to compare this to the visual video. We're going to take a good look at this. Well, what do you think of those video clips? Is that Bryan Kohberger at the visual? I believe 100% that it is. It's a tall man with an odd walk, and additionally, he conveniently has his hands inside of his coat pockets.
It's 100% him.
And yes, others have their hands in their pockets too at the visual. However, it's extra suspicious after seeing the recent...
Makes sense for him to go to the vigil, and then look at him right there. Dude almost looks like a spit image of that police officer that killed George Floyd in the face a little bit. What was his name? Chauvin.
Traffic cam body video, because Bryan's hand does appear to be bruised and damaged. And that traffic cam is 1 month after the murders. The visual was 2 weeks after the murders. So it would have been even more swollen up and damaged 2 weeks after. You give me your opinion down below. Some of you will think that's Bryan, some of you won't. I believe in my heart of hearts that it is Bryan, or I wouldn't waste your time showing you footage that I don't believe in. A lot of us were wondering, would the killer show up to the vigil? I believe he did, because he's sick. On December 8th, Papa Roger asked on Facebook, why did the killer choose that house over all the others in the area? Somebody responded, Papa Roger, random killers will also target home based on ease of... And then my screenshot got cut off, and then it continues. Unobstructed view, lights on at night, perfect for voyeuristic activities. Possible that the house fit the fantasy scenario in the killer's head, reminded him of something from his past. Possibly even a vehicle that reminded him of something, someone who had spurned him, robbery target, because the door was accessible. Had a grudge against previous tenants. They lived there at one time, they still live there. So that person came up with some random various answers for Papa Roger, and Papa Roger responds, excellent. He was getting his rocks off on these questionnaires. He was being really sick on the internet. He committed these crimes, and then he went online and discussed these crimes. Keep in mind, the 4chan user, Inside Looking on Reddit, and Papa Roger on Facebook have not posted since Bryan's arrest. And all of these people were super obsessed with this case. They were talking about it at all hours of the day and night.
Yeah, they were. That was totally Bryan, I believe. I'll be okay. Wonder if it'll even... Yeah, I'm not going to do that yet till I start making videos, so I'll make videos with what I got for right now to make do.
It almost seemed like they weren't even sleeping. They were spending a super amount of time on the internet discussing this case. Since the arrest, not a single peep. Now, before we move on to some numerology, I'm going to show you a clipping of this article I found on the internet that was posted 5 years ago. Why are so many serial killers born in November?
November is a 2 energy month universally, depending on what year the killer was born.
Bundy, Manson, and more. For those of you that aren't familiar, Brian was born in November and his birthday was about 1 week after the murders.
Wow.
I guess that was a little early birthday present to himself because he's sick. The article continues, 17 serial killers were born in November, compared with an average of 9 for other months.
Y'all make sure to go and check out and make sure you like Crime Circus and give him a subscription. He is the most, I say that along with him and Plunder are one of the top, or some of the, or 2 of my top 2 favorite true crime channels of people that really do a good job. And even Ryan Upchurch has shouted out Plunder, and I've been watching Plunder for over 2 years, maybe 3 now, ever since the Chris Watts stuff. She covered it pretty much in depth.
Out of a total of more than 100 in the study, those born in November are most likely to believe they get a raw deal. A 2005 study found that they grow up to be the most pessimistic. I don't know who did this study, but it sounds pretty on point. Brian was born in November and he seems to fit right in with the other 17 serial killers.
I don't think I know anyone born in November. Or in my family. Oh, I can't think of anyone in our family that's born in November.
That were also born in November. It also seems like he feels like he got a raw deal throughout his life and super pessimistic. Moving on. I know some people say to leave the parents out of a situation.
The dude was prestigious graduate of a college. He had a great I mean, no homo or anything. But, and I'm not saying that as a disrespect to homosexual people. People know I don't have any problem with gay people. I've had plenty of friends that are gay. It's just that I say no homo because I'm straight and I'm constantly attacked on here and being called a faggot. So anyways, if I say that, it's just out of an old high school habit saying, I know it's a little outdated to say it, but you know. Anyways, but no homo. He had an alright looking physique, body build, probably health. He had his father with him. He had a car. He graduated. I mean, what raw deal did this guy get? All I see is fucking a perfect life. A life I didn't certainly have.
Situation like this, however,
and I certainly wouldn't throw it away like with some, you know. And I know they probably think, oh, this is gonna be such a thrill, and it's just sick. Like, I don't care if it might make, you know, if you're the type of human being that thinks it's going to give you an adrenaline rush and high and thrill to kill some other human beings or torment them, you seriously, like, if you get even a small enjoyment, even per se online at activities like that torment others, like some of the people that have attacked me on here, I suggest them and you and anyone else that's watching and hearing this that may have thought like that before to please go seek help and tell the therapist that you have some antisocial thoughts. Because see, there are a lot more people with antisocial personality disorder that are diagnosed. In fact, just about every mental health diagnosis, there's a report or study out there that there's, with under self-admission and under and an under number of cases happening which cause a professional to step in and see that somebody is exhibiting those signs, because those numbers are so low, and a lot of people, you know, especially Scientologist stuff, say that psychiatrists is evil, that don't go to see psychiatrists because it's taboo. They are the ones that are at risk because they can develop these antisocial personalities, and they could end up becoming a guy just like this Brian guy. You know, he may have been one of those guys that just never got diagnosed. It's going to be interesting to hear if he has any mental health history or not. I bet you he's got zero.
However, no stone can be...
That's because he's psychopathic, aka ASPD is what they call it today.
...left unturned in an investigation this important. We must take a look at the people closest to Brian. There's questions to be asked that we do deserve answers to, such as why would a senior citizen man fly all the way from Pennsylvania to Washington just to end up driving back days later in that dirty, dirty Hyundai on that long, long road trip? It seems a little suspicious. It seems Brian could have just got on a plane if he wanted to see his family.
Yeah, and he probably actually would have got away quicker. Like, he may have even avoided detection. Not that he needed to. I'm just saying, like, from a criminal perspective, speculation, like, that was a dumb move.
His father aiding and abetting. And no, that's not accusing.
That's not accusing, but seriously, we do gotta ask, and I imagine the authorities have or are going to ask his dad. Listen, they'll probably come to him like this: hey, full disclosure, complete immunity if you just cooperate with us. Now, his dad may stop him right there and say, I'll take a lawyer too. His dad may say, hey, I don't know anything about this. I hope it's not, and he may answer the questions and they still end up charging him, or he could come out and say, I thought it was strange what he wanted to do, but he said he just really needed to, he might actually come out and basically say, yeah, he wasn't acting normal. And I mean, he may cooperate with the police, but that is a legit question they got to ask him. Are you sure you wasn't going out there to help him get rid of nothing or anything like that? Especially after the Brian Laundrie thing. Like, his parents, as much as they may probably not ever be charged with nothing, you guys gotta agree with me to some bit that there's a lot of speculation that they may have had something to do with aiding and abetting that. Like, getting their son to that reserve and,
A legitimate question. And I'm not the only one that's going to be asking that question.
Having him a lawyer before he gets home.
The police will, as well as the prosecuting attorney. If he wasn't aiding and abetting, I guess he was just an unknowing helper. However, I recently came across this old newspaper clipping written by Mary Kohberger. That's Brian Kohberger's mother. Let's see what she had to say for herself in the newspaper. Mary Ann Kohberger says, cheering the hearse, Brooklyn. Perhaps one of the saddest commentaries on mankind was evident during the execution of Theodore Bundy. While no sane, compassionate individual would excuse the atrocities committed by this man, neither would any sane individual applaud the passing of his funeral hearse. What have we become? Is the taking of a human life acceptable when the state takes responsibility for it?
Holy shit, his mom wrote that? Dude, they cheered on Ted Bundy being killed because of what he done in the end. He took it. He not only just killed women, he killed a little girl. And did unspeakable things.
Well, I guess that's up for interpretation of the viewer for how you...
Dude, and haven't I been saying that this is a Ted Bundy lookalike, dude? I swear to God, like, wow. And then you find out that dude's mom was soft on Ted. Shit, she had a son looks just like him, and to me.
Perceive what that article...
The only thing he's missing is the hairstyle. If his hairstyle was just a little bit different, boom, he'd look like an older, kind of... a little bit bonier, but same jawline as Ted.
Means It seems to me that she's a serial killer sympathizer, and that nobody should cheer when a serial killer has justice brought to him. Ted Bundy was one of the worst of the worst.
The worst of the worst, if you ask me. He manipulated people around him. He acted as the police. He was able to lure people by his attractiveness. He drawn out the proceedings and costed probably how much unknown extra tax dollars by all of his appeals and everything else of him playing cat and mouse. Like, he was scum.
He did some of the worst things imaginable on this planet. What are the odds a mother would write this into a newspaper?
And what are the odds that this motherfucker happened to go to a school? I don't know if it was Ted Bundy's same school, but both of them went to school in Washington. I think Ted also went to Utah. Dude might not have been to Utah, but, you know, like, what's so interesting about this case in comparison to Ted's is that Ted killed about 4 people just like this guy did on the night of the Kaya Omega murders. And he did it with a frickin' oak tree or some other type of tree log sitting outside in a bundle outside the sorority house. So he picked up a log with gloves, without gloves. I imagine at this point he was smart enough to have gloves, you'd think. But went in there and he just slowly, and he had followed someone there that basically like turned him down at a party, is what the film makes it look like. And that would seem to be fitting of Ted. And he follows and sees that she goes in there and he sees someone, and then, or he doesn't see anyone. He sees her go in there and go to bed. And so what, he waits until they all turn the lights out, and then he sneaks up in there and opens door by door and just goes in there and just starts fucking whacking the shit out of these poor women asleep and killing them until finally he heard somebody coming in, and he left out of there, and he ran by the person, and then the person screamed, and you know, they got a look of him and a look of he drove off in a van. And then that was when he went even crazier, because he probably knew his luck was running out, and his time at least. And he kidnapped that poor little girl. Kimberly Leach. Rest in peace. May God bless and rest her soul. You know, I couldn't imagine being a kid and having a grown up come up to me not knowing that they were taken to hurt or kill me. It's got to be some of the most unknown, scariest, like, it doesn't, you know, the kid would just be thinking everything's fine until it happens. It would be some of the most quickest, dark turning shit. Like, for someone to do that to a child, he deserved old Sparky. He deserved it 150%. Hell, he deserved getting them cotton balls stuffed up his ass, and I hope they did stuff them up his ass. He deserved all that shit.
And then years later, her own son ends up committing very similar crimes to Ted Bundy.
Exactly.
The worst of the worst. Folks, this is crazy. You can't make this type of stuff up. When you put puzzle pieces together like this and they connect perfectly, it really does make you wonder, what kind of household was Brian raised in? He decided to go to college and study killers. His professor studied serial killers. I think this man was obsessed with BTK and Ted Bundy. So what do you think?
Supposedly he was a pen pal to BTK. That's what some of the reports are saying. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but if it is, it's it's more evidence to link to his criminology studies and then choosing to do this, like him, because BTK is still alive, people, if I'm not mistaken, or when he was. Is BTK still alive? Yeah, oh yeah, he's still alive. So, yeah, this dude could have definitely been a pen pal to BTK.
Are these parents responsible in any way for this horrible happening? Parents have been known to help their children in cases like this. Look at Tori Adamsick's parents. That's the original Scream killer from Idaho. He also did a stabbing. His mother defended him since day one, and she even wrote a book proclaiming her son's innocence. Some parents will do anything for their child, especially if they feel their child is in danger, or that the world is attacking their child, or that their child is just misunderstood and their love is unconditional. I'm not saying Brian's parents had anything to do with this, but we really should know if Brian's parents had anything to do with this. That's important information. Now moving on. First, let's start with Papa Roger and his profile picture on Facebook. You can see this is a side profile image, but this appears to be Bryan Kohberger. Obviously, this is created inside of one of those photo apps where you can turn yourself into some type of cartoon character. I 100% believe that this is Bryan Kohberger, and this is an artistic rendition of him for his profile picture. Just like the Inside Looking account on Reddit, he was ballsy enough to use his real image because he never thought that he'd actually be a suspect in this. Also, something I came across that was quite interesting. Many of you out there are familiar with the questionnaire that he put out on many subreddits asking very odd questions about crimes, and he was looking to get answers from criminals. The questions that he posted on Facebook were very similar to the questionnaire questions that he posted supposedly for his college class. Brian asked in his college questionnaire, why did you choose that victim or target over others? On Facebook, Papa Roger asked, why did the killer choose that house over all the others in the area? What do we think is the entrance point to the crime scene? On Brian's college questionnaire, he asks, before leaving, is there anything else you did? And he also asked, how did you leave the scene? Well, Papa Roger on Facebook says, do we think the killer took anything from the house? How long do we think the killer was in the house? As you can see, Bryan Kohberger seems to have taken this college study way too far. He crossed all the lines. He went way beyond the gray area. He went straight into the black and white area, deep into the abyss. And we
holy shit, y'all.
all know the conclusion of what happened. 4 people ended up slain. He asked some sickening questions on Reddit 7 months prior to the murders. Supposedly this was for a college study. After the murders, he was asking very similar questions on Facebook. He raised many red flags and he raised many eyebrows. Many people were suspicious of his postings, and other users on social media apparently reported him to the FBI and to the tip line. We're going to cut away from these Facebook posts for a moment and we're going to talk about the phone call. Bryan Kohberger allegedly called into a YouTuber's channel, TRev757. Go check it out if you want to hear this full phone call. I'm going to play a tidbit of it and then we're going to talk about it.
What's kind of weird about all this is that I live in a college town and I've worked with probably at least 10 Sigma Chi members. The one thing that every single one of them I feel like has asked me is, if you were going to kill somebody, how would you get away with it? And I just wonder if maybe this is nothing more than some kid in a fraternity trying to prove himself. And that was it.
So you said you worked with 5 or 6 Sigma Chi kids, and they asked you how if you can kill somebody, they can get away with it?
Yeah.
Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Oh wow. What kind of dudes would ask you that? That's crazy as shit, man. That's an outrageous statement, man. I mean, I'd write their names down.
Yeah, man. Like you know, I like horror movies and all that kind of stuff, and I'll watch those kind of things. But like when someone like in person says some stuff like that, it's kind of like jarring. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's man. Who said that to you?
Well, what do you think? Did that guy sound creepy? Some people have said that phone call's been debunked. I've spoken to TRev757 personally myself. The phone call has not been debunked. He's gone above and beyond to try to verify one way or the other. He's called, he's texted, he's left a voicemail. Nobody's returned his calls or messages. And he's not claiming one way or the other if this phone call's authentic. The truth is, at this moment, none of us know for sure. All we can do is follow the red flags that are presented to us. Now moving on. Now we're going to touch very briefly on numerology. I touched on this topic in my previous video on Brian. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Right here, right now, we're going to talk about the Amityville Horror.
What he is referencing to is numerology is a encoding and decoding system of the vibrational energies with letters associated with numbers.
For those of you that aren't familiar, that's a crime that happened on November 13th, 1974 in Amityville, New York. Many people passed away at the hands of a psychopath, and that crime also happened at 3 a.m. Interestingly enough, the house address was 112. So you can see the similarities to this Idaho case. The house number was 112. The house number in Moscow, Idaho, 1122. It also happened on November 13th, just like the Moscow case. It also happened at approximately 3 a.m. So there's a lot of similarities in these cases, and Bryan Kohberger knowingly studied murderers. So there's a good chance that the date, November 13th,
he might have manufactured the numerology with it.
At 3 a.m. meant something to him, as well as the house address, 1122. I can't make this stuff up, folks. This is just genuine research that I've conducted to present to you. Brian appears to be a copycat killer. He studied and became obsessed with famous killers, and he wanted to become a famous killer himself. And that's probably why he interjected himself deep into this case. On 4chan, Reddit, Facebook, YouTube. He was everywhere at once. He had multiple screen names he was always watching, reading, commenting, and there's even a good chance he watched Crime Circus videos. Sometimes online sleuths get a bad name, but most of us have good intentions. I know that Grizzly True Crime has good intentions, and so do I. I've uncovered a lot more information as I've been researching this case. I can't possibly put it all into one video.
Yeah, he has. Like Crime Circus does, he goes above and beyond on these cases that he checks out.
Although I wish I could. These videos take an extreme amount of time to edit all together. Just by you watching, I super appreciate it. Subscribe if you want to. I appreciate that. Always remember to hit the like button and leave a comment.
I hope I'm turning other people to your channel.
That'll help this channel grow in the algorithm, and that's important. If you want to go above and beyond, please consider joining my Patreon or YouTube membership. I have a few different tiers available if you want to support the show. Have a look on through and see if any of those interest you. I am offering exclusive content to my Patreons and YouTube members. I've got a podcast coming out soon.
Maybe I can do that once I get back to working. Alright guys, well, I'm about to have to go to another appointment, so thanks for chilling with me. I appreciate it all. Stormy. I'll drop a link when I come back, Army. I don't know why you didn't, his link, it's, just look up Crime Circus, you'll find him. I gotta go, guys, right now. I'm gonna be late.